you live in Victoria Island, Ikoyi, Ilupeju, Festac, and Okpebi? Do you crave reliable internet to stream Netflix movies and do business from home? Now introducing Elite Wi-Fi from Eastern Networks with guaranteed internet speed that is affordable and reliable. You can enjoy 100% unlimited internet access with zero buffering. So sign up today for Elite Wi-Fi powered by Eastern Networks.
Politics has helped shape the decision of the polity, from conspiracy theories to good old-fashioned comic politics.
These are the results of tomorrow's election. You have it already, Abi.
I am not hungry. If I need appointment, all I need to do is to start praising government.
Plus, politics will fill the pulse of the country, from friends to frenemies, even strange bedfellows, to clones and stooges. We go beyond the rhetorics and the drama to analyze the story behind the story.
Let anybody come and say.
The moment we stop having charlatans occupy political offices, we will curtail hate speech.
Plus Politics, not just another political show. It's about putting you, the citizens, in the know.
Hello and welcome to What Are You Saying? #Ways, where we talk about topics in the news as it affects us all. I am Usayome Sale, and today Jenny and I, Elsie ran away from us. Jenny and I are holding the fort today. How are you, Jennifer?
I'm fine.
It's Monday. So what's good? What's happening today? Or what happened today, rather?
Nothing too serious. My Mondays are actually not that busy.
Okay.
Like every other person's Monday, and I think I love that for me. The real work starts tomorrow.
Yeah. How was your weekend, though?
My weekend was calm. I think I spent most of it inside, except okay, I went for dinner, and then that was just about indoor mostly.
Tell
How
us
was
about
yours?
the dinner.
I love your dress.
Thank you.
Leave the dinner.
Thank you. I don't know about the length, though. It's not my style, but I like the...
Yeah, I like the top part. The top part is actually really nice. It's different.
It's my style, yeah.
Well, how was your weekend, though?
It was good, actually. I had a fantastic weekend. I went on a power bike yesterday.
Oh, yes, I saw that video. And then you put #biker girl. I'm like,
yeah,
okay.
I'm a biker girl. You know, the thing is, I've always wanted to take bikers lessons.
Me too.
So I think, but my mother must not hear this, but I'm going to start the lessons. I've got a trainer already in VI. So I need to start it. See, Lagos traffic, I can't be driving car in Lagos, I beg.
I've actually always wanted to own a
power
bike.
Yeah.
I asked,
So
I made
let's do it
inquiries about
together.
it. They said, oh, I have to learn how to
Yeah,
ride a
you have to,
bicycle
yeah.
first.
No, I know how to ride a bicycle. Oh, you don't know how to ride a bicycle?
I don't know how to ride.
Auntie, your case is far. Your case is far. No, I know how to ride a bicycle, but I've never just ridden on a bike before. Like I've not tried it before ever in my life. So I'm going to take lessons, and honestly speaking, I really am a biker. See, I'm just kind of sporty girl. The kind of cars I like are the sport cars, like the fast cars. Yeah, so I'm a biker girl. So hopefully, I get my bike. My mother was not calling me after this show. All right, so today we have an interesting conversation and we have an amazing guest. But here's what we found as today's quote. Storytelling is the most powerful way to put ideas into the world. That's from Robert McKee. I mean, this is so apt and it's so true because a new study found that stories transmit important values that may have helped build any society. Storytelling is one of the oldest forms of communication known amongst humans. Stories are part of the history of every known society where they serve to transmit knowledge and valuable information from one generation to the next. Now, stories for social impact must show people as active agents of change who play a central role in creating solutions to the problems they face. And this preserves their dignity, encourages empathy, and inspires support from others. So what stories can we begin to tell, right? What stories can we begin to tell to help build a better Nigeria? That's our conversation tonight. And Femi Odukpemi is here to discuss this. But first, we'll take a break to see what we found in the news. You're still watching Ways Now. Today is World Communication and Information Society Day. and this day has been celebrated annually every 17th of May since 1969 to mark the founding of the ITU and the signing of the first International Telegraph Convention in 1865. Now, the COVID-19 crisis has not only highlighted the critical role of information and communication technologies, that's ICTs, for continued functioning of society, but has also brought to the fore the startling digital inequalities between and within countries. At the same time, it has highlighted the urgency of accelerating digital transformation and advancing the goals and target of the Connect 2030 agenda to leave no one behind. And the theme for this year is accelerating digital transformation in a changing times. This is very important. This year, if you had not valued technology before, from 2020, you will know how important technology is,
Very serious.
Very, very important. So I'm hoping that we are able to, and the truth is there's a lot of inequality when it comes to this space, know. I mean, if you compare developing countries and developed countries, there's a lot of inequality. So hopefully, we'll be able to level it. Something Tesla is doing, what's his name, Jack Ma, is doing something where, when I heard it, I said, correct. All these data people that will be stressing our lives, telling you that there's no network fiber. So it's you put a device in your home, it connects straight to satellite. So as long as there's a sky, you get internet. So you don't have to go through. I mean, that would revolutionize what's it called, the telecommunication in the it will bury companies. In fact, I was saying that would they allow these things thrive? Because I know the people trying to bring it into Nigeria. I was asking the chairman, I said, sir, are you sure this thing would fly in this country? People will kill it out because you're literally killing businesses.
It would take a while.
But
it
has
would take a while.
no, because you know what he told me?
It would happen, but we know that the government will fight it.
No, you know what he told me? He said something. He said, see, if they don't allow it to come in like legally and all of that, the truth is you from Nigeria here, you can subscribe to it and you can buy from the US. So why don't you just bring it in so that
people don't have to go through?
Do you understand? Go through that, and you can make your own money here in Nigeria and empower people here in Nigeria. But to say the thing is not happening, that's the lie.
You know, sometimes when you introduce something to, let me use Nigeria for example, you introduce something to us. First off, people see it as, okay, you're about to take our businesses, our livelihood, but by the time you now explain to them that, see, you can also make profits from this, then they start reasoning with you. So I think that they have to come from that angle to let them know that, see, we're not trying to destroy your business. It's what I've been saying since with Bitcoin. All you Bitcoiners, if you have told the government where they can just squeeze in some, they will not stress you anymore. All right, so that's that. What did you find for us in the news? So in the news today, you can't decide your successor, only God can. TAF tells Okowa. TAF is the Tony Amechi Foundation, and they told the Delta State Governor, Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa, that he should stop playing God on who would succeed him as the governor of the state in 2023. They are actually very upset that a lot of resources have been coming in towards his end, and all he does is give it to a small number of people, and he's allowing the large populace suffer. So it's like, oh, you're only taking care of your own people. What about other people? Now, if you keep doing this, so what he wants to do is he's practically playing the Godfather. Basically, I can decide that, okay, you know what, since I'm going to step down by 2023, I will decide that Uwa will be the next person to rule after me. Meaning that the people do not have a say. The people cannot vote. So he's basically just telling them that your vote is useless.
But you know the thing is that why do governors like, what's it called, why do succession plans in government always seem to be like this all the time? Because this was the same tussle that Adams Oshomole and, what's his name, Governor Obaseki, where Adams Oshomole was trying to become like a godfather figure. The only place that thing has successfully happened, is Lagos. And everybody seems to be fighting strongly against it because they've seen the ripple effect of what's going on in Lagos, where it seems like one person is deciding what happens to the fate of millions of people in Lagos.
I think the reason why people should actually keep fighting it is because if I step down and I'm acting as a godfather, and someone else is in power, basically I'm still in power because I control everything he or she does in that seat. I tell you what to do.
Until
I tell you what not to do.
Until I'm able to move myself.
So even if he puts you in that seat, you're practically just useless because you're not doing the work you're supposed to do.
Absolutely.
You're doing what your godfather is asking you to do. So they need to fight it. It cannot continue. We've suffered it in Lagos enough.
All right, so my story, Twitter is bullish. Twitter is on fire. Hell, Rufai. You know, there were so many, what's it called? There were so many memes or whatever. Somebody was saying that maybe the people that typed this Hell Rufai, maybe they are Yoruba people. You know, the Yoruba people have the H factor.
Yes.
So instead of saying Hell Rufai, say Hell Rufai. All right, so there was massive protest today. The NLC, so it says, we marched massively today alongside the rank and file of Kaduna workers, despite empty threats from the pseudo-tyrant of, Governor, they call it Hell Rufai, but it's El Rufai. Workers create wealth, hence they deserve a decent working environment and a living wage, not to be sacked. That's hashtag Kaduna strike. I mean, my mom and my dad, they still live in Kaduna, so I called them today. They've been having, they've had blackout for a while now, and she said she's running her gen, that there's no light and all that. Thankfully, the governor has decided to, have a meeting with these people. When I saw that sack, I was wondering, how do you just sack people just like that?
Just like that.
First of all, you say you can't pay, what's it called, the minimum wage and all that. I think he reverted it, because I remember taking that story where he reverted the minimum wage back to 18,000 naira. And on top of that, sacked people. Do you understand? So I was wondering, how does this happen? Can we get to the point where states will say, you know what, we're not viable enough to be on our own? Kaduna is very close to Abuja. You can just merge the states and let's have one. I think if we begin to think, productively, you are in a business. If you're in a business and you're struggling, right, and you see like a bigger company coming to absorb, you would sell your business. You say, you know what, come and take over the business as long as the business grows. I think that's the kind of way I think most of our government officials should begin to think about Nigeria, because some states are outrightly not performing at all in terms of generating their revenue. You're just constantly waiting for Abuja. So why don't we get to the point where states will say, you know what, I don't think I can handle this, maybe a bigger state come and absorb us and I work under you. And stop, because this is really tiring. So hopefully they are able to reach a conclusion. But if you want to go on Twitter and see all the comments, trust me, Hell Rufai. Somebody saying that you cannot be stressing Hell Rufai. Go to Hell Buhari. In fact, they said all sorts on Twitter. So you can go on Twitter and just have a field day. All right, so that's all we can take on What's in the News. When we return from the break, yes, want to be telling stories that would impact and change the narrative in Nigeria. And we have a fantastic filmmaker with us here tonight. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
He suffered equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect them. If you no talk, they go beat you. Now 2,500 and they pay.
Thanks for staying with us. Now, almost is the moment that humans first gain consciousness. They have been articulating their thoughts and beliefs through stories. Ancient people drew pictures of their experiences on cave walls. Orators told morality tales around roaring flames, and myths were invented to explain things that people could not yet understand. Now, poems, painting, novels, comics, film, radio stories, and Instagram captions are all ways that members of our species continue to try to understand and communicate our human experience. There is no doubt that stories wield a powerful influence in our world. There is nothing that destroys bias, apathy, or hate, quite like stepping into someone else's shoes for a moment. And by wielding the power of storytelling and crafting compelling narrative, storytellers can help build empathy and understanding between people from all walks of life. So as we move towards building a better Nigeria, how can we harness the power of stories? Now, please let us hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join this conversation. Tweet at us at WayShowAfrica1 with the hashtag WayShow, or send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. All right, so I'm going to bring in our guest like in a minute or two, but I wanted to ask Jennifer, what do you think, have you heard any story that really drew your attention to, especially maybe the current challenges that we've had in Nigeria? Is there any of those such stories that you've seen in recent times?
I think there was a movie that we all watched. I think we're talking about it in the makeup room. There was one about, I think it was about independence. I can't remember. Okay. Yeah, I can't remember the name of that. I can't remember the name of it.
Is it 76 or October 1st?
I think it was October 1st.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
So when I watched that movie, it gave me kind of like a vivid imagination of what happened back then and how it was like. And it was very easy for me to immerse myself into that age. So I was watching it and I was very intrigued, like, oh wow, this happened and this was how so it was actually amazing. And for me, I believe that storytelling is all about capturing the imagination of people to kind of like shape the way that they think and the way they see things. And also storytelling can give people a vision for what they want to see, for what to expect, what to anticipate, that kind of thing. Well, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, not about nation building though. There was one story that I watched, Dazzling Mirage, one movie that I watched.
Attention to this particular movie. I'm so sorry. I'm not good with names.
Names, yeah.
Yeah. This movie about Ebola. Yeah, the Nigerian one.
Yeah.
When I watched it, I was like, it was that bad?
Yes.
A lot of people
Dr.
didn't know.
Yeah,
a lot of people did not know how bad Ebola was and what those doctors were going through.
How they saved our lives.
Oh my God, how they worked so hard for us, and people, they did not appreciate them enough. And after watching that movie, I actually cried. I always cry in movies. I was crying. I was like, wow.
All right, so let me bring in our guest. Femi Odugbemi is an award-winning writer, producer, director, a Nigerian documentary filmmaker, screenwriter, cinematographer, and photographer who is widely respected for his creativity and professionalism. He has worked in the Nigerian movie, motion picture industry, and has created and produced several critically acclaimed entertainment programs for television and radio. And he's joined us live in studio. Hey, we have to do a clap. Whoa.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me.
So I just saw you nodding. Honestly speaking, we have been talking about Nigeria on this platform, especially our Mondays. We dedicate our Mondays to 2023, like preparing the minds of young people to what to expect for 2023. And I said, okay, where are the people telling the stories, the movies? I remember before Barack Obama ever became president in in America rather, they had been doing movies of the possibility of a black person emerging president and history was made eventually. Now, we have a vice president in the US that's, that's female, and if you look at some of the series that they do, Madam President, Madam Secretary, and all of that, it tells you that stories do paint big pictures and it leaves a lasting impression. So why are we not having enough stories in Nigerian, the television space that can help transform our political structure, our nation, building a better Nigeria? Why are we not having those kind of stories?
Well, Well, stories are as good as the storyteller. The story is as rich as the storyteller. The stories that are told, that we are telling, are basically told to the limit of the exposure of our storytellers. And I think that's really important to say. One of the reasons why it's become important for us to focus on training is not to train people about using cameras, is for people to recognize that cameras are just tools. In the end, what kinds of story you tell reflects the level of your consciousness, the level of your exposure, the kind of future that you wish to foretell. And I think, you know, there are quite a few people in our industry who are exposed enough, who are doing a lot. Some of those films, you've mentioned them already. A lot of Nigerian youth did not know Nigeria once had a national anthem that's different from the one they grew up with.
Yeah.
It was October 1st.
Queen of Lions movie.
That showed that. You talked about 93 Days by Steve Gukes. That was a tour de force. It was powerful because it showed how Nigeria overcame Ebola, something that was only possible because one of us sacrificed her life for the country. So really, the reason stories work is because it's the only way we transmit as humans, not just ideas, but experiences. But it's also how we communicate ambition, how we actually shape the future. And unfortunately, I think because our storytellers, we have a lot of young people who are untrained in storytelling and who think that storytelling is something you just pick up. Yes, you may have the talent to tell the story, to tell a story, but you do need the discipline to know how stories evolve and how they impact. I remind young people all the time, you may not know it, but everything you know, everything you believe is actually a story you were told, but also the story you embraced. When Americans tell their young children that any child can become president, it's a carefully crafted story. Not every child can become a president, but if you can make every child believe its possibility, they become inspired. And I think what's missing in our storytelling spaces, and for us, the real storytelling space that's most populated is social media. And a lot of us have embraced a story that says our country is no good and that the only way is to escape it. But we talk about our disappointments, we ignore our appointment. Every country is built by generations. And it's strange to say, but the America, UK, you know, Europe, they're very, very careful how they tell stories to their young because they create a future that inspires them. And that's really what we need to do. We're lucky. We have a very vibrant film industry. And there's a lot more for us to do. We need to actually not just believe in the country, not just talk about the country that we have now, we need to talk about the country we want.
We hope for.
The one we want. Hope is a very...
Yeah, hope is not a strategy.
It's a bit loose. But the country we want. The great thing about storytelling is there are always protagonists and antagonists. Stories create heroes. Heroes overcome things. And we need more heroes, but we need to create them.
Absolutely.
And we really must rely on our storytelling industries to focus more on that.
Absolutely. Jennifer.
So in your experience and in your opinion, what do you think are the best ways for us to tell our stories?
Well, you know, when you're telling a story, you build a world. And if that world is only one-dimensional, you narrow the experience for the viewers. The best stories are the stories that build multi-layered worlds. The truth is, there is nothing that is a single narrative. Chimamanda talked about the danger of the single story. And she said the danger of a single story is that it lacks balance. And that's really the problem in a space as big as Nigeria. We're a huge country. We've got a lot of different cultures, different experiences. And we really rely on our storytellers to help us embrace and experience those parts of our country that we may not have been. You've been in the North. It's a totally different experience.
Absolutely.
And if you sit in Lagos all your life and all you think about is your understanding of a northerner as someone selling cigar, you limit yourself.
Or shoemaker.
Or shoemaker.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is we create labels. And what labels do is just sort of like reinforce ignorance. And for me, we need to start making stories that's not trapped in Lagos, that's not trapped in Asaba, that's not trapped inside buildings. We need to begin in our stories to experience the magnificence of Nigeria. Because if you begin to go to places like Obudukato Ranch, if you begin to see the spaces, you know, the rivers, the hills, if you begin to experience, you know, the deserts and the lush, you know, countrysides, when you travel by road, you begin to appreciate how much we have that we're not selling.
We're not telling.
And you know, storytelling in the realm of nation building is really story selling. Before I traveled to America, I thought every single street was paved with gold.
Thank you.
And then I went to school and found Americans who were actually eating from dustbins.
I tell you.
When we grew up, we saw Indian films, and we thought everywhere was dancing and happiness. And then people go to Mumbai and see poverty. It's really about the story you choose to tell. And because stories are connected to economy, stories are actually cultural diplomacy, stories are really, I mean, you can't tell me your country is awful and you expect me to come here on tourism.
No.
You can't tell me it's the worst thing you've ever seen and the worst place you've ever been and then expect someone to come and invest in it. And that's just really where the crossroads we're in. Our stories are not about our leaders. Governments are not countries. Governments are just mirrors. They come from us.
Absolutely.
And when we decide that they are all evil and they're all bad and nothing is good here, we live the experience ourselves. Because in the end,
oh my God,
the stories you embrace becomes your reality.
I mean, you are just like, there's just so much going on with what you're saying. I wish somebody really is listening to understand it. I mean, what you said about embracing, we've embraced a lot of single narratives. We've embraced a lot of stereotypes. We've embraced a lot of negative, you know, because you see, I was saying to them that because I have best of both worlds, I grew up all the way to maybe I was like 16 or 17 when I went to the university, all my life in the North. So my experience with Northerners are completely far from what you have experienced with them based on what they told you. I lived it, right? So I am now living in the South and I'm experiencing a different kind of culture. But when I hear people speak, especially people that have not even crossed Ibadan, and they talk about Northerners, you know, I just say this is ignorance. And you rightly, like you hit it so hard in the head, ignorance. And it is this ignorance that has brought us to where we are today. you made a mention of something. You know, when I was having this conversation with my producer, we're talking about the topic. I was just focusing, okay, television and TV, social media. You know, there was something that was trending where they put a picture of when they were in Nigeria. We even talked about it. They put a picture when they were in Nigeria, and they put the picture when maybe they've relocated outside the country.
Yeah.
When they were in Nigeria, they were looking like, you know, these Somalian war-torn people. Then when they relocated, they were looking all lush, fresh, and all of that. What narrative were we selling to the world to say this is what Nigeria is? So it's really deep. I don't even know what to say.
Well, I'll tell you, 2 or 3 years ago, I was in Sheffield, the Sheffield Film Festival, and we were talking about something they described as poverty porn. There is a way in which sometimes the lazy storyteller tries to shock and awe with the worst possible images and imagery in the hope that it creates the kind of attention that says, you know, this is so dastardly, and that's really the shock value is all the story is. It's not only single-dimensional, it's false. Because there is no story that is only one side.
Yeah.
If you put 5 people who've been in one single car accident, if you ask them separately what happened, you will get 5 stories. This is why we don't see things as they are. We see things as we are.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so there is a way in which the kind of stories that permeate our public spaces are stories that basically, you know, sort of dig deep into our hurt, but it's really digging us deeper in a hole. And that, to me, is really why I thought it was important to come here and have this conversation. That it's not just the people who are on TV or the people who are in our film industry. It's also the stories we're telling at home.
Twitter.
When the stories we're telling on social media, the exaggerations, the exceptional shock and awe of poverty porn. There is a certain distance that we have to take from what you call inciting incidents. If you're a storyteller, you'd understand that a story starts out with a big world and then something happens.
Yeah,
there is always,
something has to happen.
and it's called the inciting incident. It's what happens that takes, you know, a world of balance into imbalance. But the journey of our character, because every story is about someone, is about a character overcoming odds. And the reason that character becomes a hero is not that the character runs away from the problem. It is when the character faces the problem and overcomes it. And which is why I say all our stories lack heroes. We tend to just constantly tell a story of defeat. And of course, our reality is beginning to mirror it. We're beginning to talk about wars. We're beginning to talk about, you know, the other rather than us. We're beginning to describe the enemy in terms and labels and colors that belong to our neighbor. And of course, this has happened in Rwanda. It has happened in many other places where, you know, you've had those sorts of dislocations that totally brought a country to its knees. And what happens with labels in Rwanda, one side called the other cockroaches. And their children were able to take cutlasses and kill simply because they did not see humans.
They saw cockroaches.
They saw cockroaches.
Wow.
If we also decide that Nigeria can truly be the giant of Africa, and I'm not saying this just so that we tell stories that are, you know, pie in the sky. I'm saying that our challenges are real, our opportunities are real. We decide around what we weave our stories. Our stories can acknowledge our problems, our challenges, but our stories can create solutions and heroes. And when we do that, you'd be surprised how many people find the courage, find the capacity to want to be the leader, to want to create a new future.
Oh my goodness. All right, let's go and soak it in. Go for a very quick break. We'll be right back. Oh my God. Okay, so if you're just tuning in, we're discussing the role of storytelling in nation building. Like, I'm so blown away. I knew this was going to be a great conversation, but it's even greater than I thought. Please let us hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join this conversation. Tweet at us at WishAfrica1 with the hashtag WishShow, or send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. I don't even know that I want to check the WhatsApp yet. Let me, because I want to hear more. Jennifer, you had a question?
Not a question.
Okay.
I just wanted to say something. Now, he was talking about stereotype and he was talking about label. I think we've gotten to the point where everyone has become so self-absorbed, and it is now a case of tit for tat. You call me this, I call you that. I have a problem with this. It's like saying, oh, the Yorubas are this, the Hausas are this. And then a lot of people lack imagination. They fail to immerse themselves in the experience of others. Now, the fact that I wasn't there shouldn't stop me from trying to picture what you had to go through in a particular situation. It also shouldn't stop me to think that, oh, because you have called Uwa a paper, doesn't necessarily mean that she's actually a paper. It just means that you had a different experience with her. She has a whole other side of her. So everybody has like a different side to them. What you experience with me is totally different from Uwa's experience with me. And I feel like that's what people should start looking at.
So how do we get them? Because this danger of the single story that you talked about is, I think, is what is plaguing us in Nigeria. Honestly, there are lots of single stories out there where people do not even want to hear the other side or experience the other side.
Well, the most foolish thing anyone can do is to inherit another person's enemy. Until you have actually experienced something, and you can't actually decide on an impression of a group of people on the experience of one or two. But here is where we have a problem in Nigeria. Most people don't understand that we've become incredibly interwoven. I'm from Ondo State. My wife is from Edo. I have friends who are from the north. I used to go to Jos just to play basketball with Steve Gukas. Wow. Steve Gukas is from Jos. He was my best man when I married. We are so interconnected that we fail to understand that if this country becomes dislocated, what do you do with your child? What do you do with your aunt? So it's really a problem that's born out of ignorance. And I think the social media, the biggest problem we've got is that the social media is fostering not only miscommunication, it's fostering discommunication. There is a way in which I can hide behind the keyboard, and I can hide behind the keyboard and simply, type out knee-jerk responses to things.
Absolutely.
And that comes from having followers and deciding that I have a responsibility to respond to everything.
Yeah.
And that's really where I think the discipline is lacking. And it's not just, I'm not just talking about a generational issue. I'm talking about a discipline issue, because there are also older people who simply lash back on social media based on their prejudices and biases. And that's really where I think, I talk about all of this because it's also a very important space for our storytellers to begin to engage us. There are so many stories to be told, not just about tribes, but about the failures in government. Don't talk about it on social media. Write stories about bad roads. Write stories about unfinished bridges. Write stories about corruption. You know, write stories about those civil servants themselves who teach the politicians where the bodies are buried. There are just so many layers to the Nigerian problem that it's not about tribe. There is this ad I listened to on Radio Now, 93.5. I love it. It says, "I'll tell you a crime, you tell me the tribe of the perpetrator." Yes. And it gets to the end, it says, "Well, if you thought about a tribe, then you are part of the problem, because there are no tribes."
Corruption.
No, there are people who commit crimes, and they're called criminals. They don't have a tribe.
Absolutely.
And I think that's really why I think this conversation is so important. That we're telling stories about those crimes we don't want to happen. We're telling stories about, characters that we've profiled that represent those people that are bad amongst us. But they're not represented as tribes. They have to be represented as criminals, as people. That, I think, is really it. We have to also foreshadow. In storytelling, what you talked about Barack Obama, a black president being foreshadowed, I think the series was 24.
24, yes.
But there were also series that foreshadowed a female president right before Hillary Clinton almost became president. Yeah. There are series that foreshadowed black police officers as police chiefs. And that became the reality in America. What future are our stories foreshadowing? That should be what we need to be talking about.
This brings me to my next question, because most times when I hear movie makers, now I'm going to the movie side now, filmmakers saying that, that Nigerians like, and I think it's a very wrong narrative, that we like feel-good stories. So you see them create movies, I can't go to the cinema to watch certain movies, I'm sorry. There are some movies that do not deserve my time. If there's nothing that at the end of the day I can hold on to say, you know what, this is a good story to tell, then there's no point. I don't feel like laughing because we're not in a place to laugh. But I see a lot of filmmakers say that, Nigerians like feel-good movies and all of that. And you see, big movies going out in the cinema and it's just, just come and laugh and go.
Well, I would answer it in two ways. I will answer it by saying, yes, Nigerians do like feel-good stuff. Remember, we were voted one of the happiest people on earth.
Not so.
And
suffering and smiling.
It's important for us to recognize that, because it's also a coping mechanism. There is a way in which our movies help the mass of our people to sort of suspend reality for a brief moment, forget about the problems, and just laugh. There's a place for that. But I also think there is a place for our filmmakers to embrace their power. Their power is that they have an audience who listens to them, who hear what they have to say, who pay. Nigerian audiences like Nigerian movies. That's an advantage. The question is, do the filmmaker want to embrace
Nigerian stories?
Their power? Their power is in creating stories that create characters that deliver heroic outcomes. Their power is in exposing the rot, the spaces and the ways in which corruption has debarred our progress. Their power is in exposing the things that we could be doing in innovation, in imagination, in science, in technology. We have all these beautiful, brilliant young people. All of this we can foreshadow.
Yes.
The question is, can those two realities coexist? My answer is yes. We can create feel-good movies with heroes that leave us with insight, that get us excited to be Nigerians, to fight for a different reality and a different future. It needn't be one or the other. And so for me, again, I started off by saying our stories are only as rich as our storytellers, which is why, for me, the focus what I focused on in the last few years is in mentoring and working with young storytellers, and not just to know how to run a camera or how to hold a boom or how to light, but how to embrace their power. Because unless you embrace your power as a storyteller, you don't see your possibilities in terms of being influential. Influential in impressing on people a new future, but influential in the conversations of nation building. I mean, we're referring now to Kunle Afolayon's film. And I think he's a magnificent storyteller.
He does.
And within his films,
you can see it. I would watch a film any day, anytime.
Within his films, there are feel-good moments.
Yes.
But there are always
strong messages
that let you see how rich culturally he is as a filmmaker. And that's not a surprise. He worked for many years as an actor. He worked with Tunde Kelani.
Oh, yeah.
And can you watch any Tunde Kelani
Dazzling
film
Mirage was
that does not speak to his power as a filmmaker? And that, to me, is where it's at. The filmmaker needs to feed. You cannot pour out of an empty cup. If you have filmmakers or storytellers who don't read, who don't watch other people's films, who don't travel, who don't really, don't know any other language but, the pidgin variant they speak on Twitter, you've got an issue. So whatever stories they choose to tell will end up in the limits of their experiences.
Absolutely.
And so I encourage as many people as possible who are doing things right and who are doing the right thing, adopt as many of these storytellers as you can. What is not in doubt is that we are blessed with a lot of talented storytellers.
Absolutely. Sure. Jennifer, okay, quickly, what's up? We've run out of time. Oh my God. We thought we had an hour. Aptly put. That's you.
Okay, so we have a message from Benson. He said, aptly put, is the power of the story that builds the heroes. I wonder what heroic stories are told today in our nursery and primary schools today. Are these aspects embedded in the primary curriculum?
Okay, you have to quickly answer that.
Well said. It does not require an answer. This is an insightful comment. There is a failure in our educational system as well, where we have not actually introduced, the history of Nigeria, the multiplicity of our ethnicity. I mean, when I was growing up, you were forced to read Dio Fagua. You learned a lot about your culture, your history. They told you about what your name meant. You were forced to spell it the right way, not holla with H and all of that stuff that you see online. But these are not the fault of our young people. It's the fault of our institutional systems. So yes, we have to go back to stories from when they're young. We have to have parents, parenting, connecting with these kids, telling them stories of their family experiences. There is a dislocation there that is also affecting the stories the kids are embracing. For every family where the house girl and the steward are doing the parenting, there's a dislocation in the stories that the child embraces. And for a lot of us, some of these house girls are from Republic of Benin. The stories they tell our kids are at variance with the heritage of our kids. So there is a lot of spaces where we can go, where it's not just the film industry or the TV industry alone. There is a whole confluence of things. All of us are storytellers. Our parents were storytellers. We are storytellers. We are storytellers in friendships, in marriages, and the reason why you have so many dislocated friendships, distrust amongst people, is simply because the stories are not aligning. And so he is totally right, and I'm glad he's brought that up.
Thank you, Benson.
Can we beg you to come back again? Like, I can't have this 1 hour. It's so painful, honestly. I will tell my story of how pained I am. Yeah. You know, that we have run out of time and we'll come to the end of the show. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
Honestly speaking, this has been one of the most insightful shows that I am honored to have hosted this night. Thank you so much. It's been an amazing conversation, and I really hope people listened, you know, because you said too many things. Yeah. I wish people are listening and they're able to take on those things. I mean, so the stories goes beyond just what we see on TV. What are the stories that we're telling ourselves? You know, we can truly build this nation. We can rebuild again. Because our nation, you know, yeah, a lot of things have gone wrong, but we can start from somewhere and we can begin to tell the right narrative. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Jennifer, thank you for doing this with me. All right, so Ways was birthed from the need to inform, inspire, influence lives towards action. And this year we started our CSR focus on curbing unemployment in Nigeria. So if you are a company, please partner with us by allocating internship slots. And if you're a job seeker, keep watching Ways and follow us on all our social media handles, as this will be an all year round engagement. So tell your friends to keep all eyes on Ways. In case you missed today's quote, it's a very short but very powerful quote. It says, storytelling is the most powerful way to put ideas into the world. I mean, so we have to start telling the right stories, and we have to start what do you call it again? Foreshadowing. So for the Nigeria that we want. I love that, what you said, Nigeria that we want. We need to start telling the right story. So we'll see you live tomorrow at 8 p.m. as we bring another great conversation to your screen. Enjoy.
Welcome to The Breakfast.
A breakfast where we unbundle top and big stories of the day.
Is vaccine the only way out?